Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. In this two-part segment, sponsored by AMF Bakery Systems, I'm speaking with Martin Dahlbeck, Director of Engineering, about how AMF PackTech is addressing current industry trends through modern packaging technology. In part one, we are discussing sanitary design and sustainability in the packaging area. Hi, Martin. Thanks so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
So this is a pretty cool topic that we're going to cover, and it's how packaging is meeting industry trends. And some of these areas are things that we don't often talk about. So the first thing I want to discuss is sanitary design. It's a huge trend in the industry, but this is not a conversation that we really hear in areas post-oven. So what should bakers be thinking about as far as sanitary design in the packaging area?
So for the people who knows the industry, any human contact to the product will eventually trigger faster mold growth. So when you think of designing an equipment, you must consider keeping, of course, the crumbs and the food off of any cracks. So when you do the cleaning, you don't have to, scrub in every corners, and also have an easy access to the equipment because of course, if you have to do some kind of yoga when you want to access every corners, it's kind of cumbersome for the operators. In our case, AMF, our response to implement sanitary design principle in our product was basically to engineering frames and assemblies that specifically minimize the accumulation of crumbs where bacteria can develop. Basic example, using round tubing. So when crumbs fall, basically it goes on a round surface and eventually fall down the bottom of the machine. Another thing is, especially with the latest equipment, we try to have as much possible wide access to allow the sanitation and also for the maintenance. Minimally, you can access our machine like the 75S from both sides and even more for the bagger. You can open very widely. And one item that we looked at is in our latest packaging equipment is to feature the fully automated guide adjustment. It's basically to avoid the human contact to any surface that touches the product. So when they have to adjust guides for the next run, and sometimes they don't take the gloves, so they take their hand and touch surface that will eventually be in contact with the product. So having fully automated guides, so you call a recipe and then the guides adjust, the top plates for the slicer and the guides for the bagger and slicer and the conveyors. You have no touching at all. So it does eliminate any contaminant on those equipment. So of course, it will eventually help to keep the product free of any contaminants. Any OEM that design with the sanitary and that for the help of the bakeries is we found by applying those sanitary principles during the development process that we could come up with concept and designs that in the end improve not only the sanitation, but improve the machine productive time, or sometimes referred as the OEE, or overall equipment efficiency. We can reduce the downtime required for the sanitation and in the end improve the efficiency and provide a significant value to the bakery.
Yeah, absolutely. So another trend that's really important in the industry is sustainability. And when we think about sustainability in packaging, we're typically talking about the packaging materials. And there is this trend moving away from plastic packaging and moving toward paper packaging. What are some of the most important considerations that bakers need to think about as far as how the equipment works with specific materials like paper?
When you only have plastic bag, days in, day out, you set up your machine, you have the same or almost same supplier of plastic bag, the same thickness of bag. So the behavior of the bag is the same across the operation and during the whole day and the whole week. Paper doesn't behave the same way as the plastic. Yes, we did get requests of paper bags. Our machines have a blower that basically open and inflate the bags. But when it comes to a paper bag, the thing is we cannot just have a big blowout and breaks the bag before putting a product inside the bag. The challenge here is to be able to adjust not only the speed of the equipment, the setup of, the guides and everything, but especially in the bagging operation, we need to adjust and make sure that we control the force at which we blow. The other approach of that is to have paddles, and some equipment maker has those paddle that open the bags. In a nutshell, it's more complicated. At the last IBA show in Munich, I had a chance to discuss with some paper bag manufacturer from Germany. And it's the only way I would say working with suppliers like that supply the plastic bag and the ones to go with the more than 40% eventually of recycled product. So these are two trends. I mean, the paper bags and the recycled plastic bag. All those products create more variability in the adjustment. And that's basically the main challenge for the bakery. So make sure that your equipment can behave good and ideally supplying the bags ahead of the order so we can control and check how we can adjust the equipment to fit those different products.
Okay, so sustainability is something that consumers want. And another thing that consumers want that bakers are having to keep up with is health and wellness. And I have been really seeing this come up in conversations around bread. And bread is once again just being touted as a part of a healthy diet. And so consumers are looking for health attributes, and that is going to impact packaging. So I'm curious how AMF PackTech machines are addressing certain health and wellness attributes to packaging bread, like the packaging considerations around products that have a lot of inclusions like fruits and nuts and seeds, because we're seeing a lot of that these days.
For me, it's not really the problem because we have equipment that can manage removing the sugary of the blades and so on. I mean, I can come back to that later, but it's more in terms of volume because they are basically concentrating the mainstream products in one plant so they can produce, less variety. But that keeps other plants doing a lot of variety. And this is where I want to come. The LT-minded product is not a problem as a trend, as it's more a problem as you have frequent changeovers. And those changeovers requires a lot of setup consideration. And so the growth of those needs requires more changeover within a day. Our response to that is basically to provide an equipment that allow quick product changeovers. So you can go from one to the other, so without, having to stop for 5-10 minutes between each batch. Having the recipe-driven automatic guide adjustment, reduce the downtime, having automatic wicket also help to perform the quick changeover. The 75S model, the latest model with all those automated feature options taken in account, you can literally do a changeover on a line within a minute. So allowing, quick changeovers for the health, or for plant that has a lot of, varieties will help eventually to stabilize the whole process as is often a continuous process. It will help to stabilize. And for the new products, especially the slicing process that is affected by that range of products. So we have to work closely with blade manufacturer. We have to provide option of scrapers, and we have to also provide, option of steam or water and oiling. So all those can be pre-programmed within a recipe. So again, when you call for a specific product, it's not only adjust the guides, but also call for those adjustments at which rate you will eventually oil, at which rate you're gonna steam, at which rate you're gonna ask for honing. It's very interesting that yes, this comes more often as a trend, but for decades, equipment manufacturers were offering the solution to deal with those different products. But the challenge really resides when you have many of those within a single plant, how you deal with
Yeah.
those changeovers.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.